It's good to be here.
You know, obviously the race that everyone is watching, it's at the top of the ticket. It's the race for Senate.
Oh, yeah.
John Cornyn, Ken Paxton, you know, how important is this race for Texas Republicans?
Oh, it's extremely important. I mean, we all kind of knew what would happen with Greg Abbott. We knew he'd walk away with it. But in this case, you know, especially with Tallarico versus Crockett on the Democrat side, this was the cognate to that. And whether or not the winds of politics have changed so much that John Cornyn couldn't possibly hang on, or if Ken Paxton could overcome his personal troubles, that was the big sideshow. But unlike the Democrat side, a lot of our voters weren't quite sure. A lot of uncertainty and waiting till the last minute on our side.
You know, when you look at what has happened with Ken Paxton, are you surprised at all by the number, especially given the ads that the senator is running now? I mean, it's no holds bar, right? We're talking about the divorce. We're talking about affairs. They call him a home wrecker. They talk about him getting money in office. I mean, why do you think that those types of attacks are not resonating with voters?
Oh, I don't know. My own wife said, "Hey, Andy, how come they put socialist, socialist, socialist 4 times on the screen?" And they kind of make the point. I said, well, I guess they did, but maybe that's where we're at. But I think a lot of voters are waking up. They want strong rhetoric. They want more than campaign promises, but they're wanting something to back it up. They're wanting something more substantive. And I think that's the message we're getting tonight. They're not against hard rhetoric like that, but they want backup.
You know, one of the things that I think, one of the storylines that I thought was going to be really surprising out of this is you had President Donald Trump and Governor Greg Abbott endorse different candidates in 2 races. When we talk about the ad commissioner and the comptroller. And it looks like the president's candidates are faring better as of right now, as of what Brian Mays just told us. For instance, if we look at Nate Sheets ahead 56% to incumbent Sid Miller, 44%. Oh, okay, that flipped actually. So let me take a step back. So Nate Sheets is endorsed by the governor, and he's doing better than Sid Miller, who was endorsed by the president. And then if you look at the other race, which is the race for comptroller, Don Huffines, endorsed by the president, sitting at 60%. Kelly Hancock, endorsed by Greg Abbott, significantly behind at 22%. Does that tell you something about how voters feel about about endorsements in general?
Yeah, I think so, especially with the Sid Miller thing. That was the very last minute. A lot of voters in early voting didn't know until Trump came to Texas. Trump was relying on surrogates in Texas to make the decisions for him. And then when we started noticing, wow, Texas is truly a battleground, that's when Trump says, hey, I want to make my own decisions, and gave us a few surprises in Corpus Christi.
Wow. And so you think it just came too late? Again, early ballots were already cast.
Yeah, I think that's half for early voting and half for day of voting on the Republican side lately.
And so then what do you make of the comptroller's race then? I mean, you had the president, not the president, excuse me, the governor running ads with Kelly Hancock, showing him in the ads with him. And people clearly support the governor.
Well, that's true. And then you have a situation with Christy Craddock not doing so well. And again, you know, Christy Craddock had her whole entire term to say more and message stronger like Sid Miller did, but she didn't really do that. It was kind of the opposite of Sid Miller. Sid would often message but not really back it up. And don't get me wrong, I'm a Sid Miller fan, but I think that's what voters have perceived the differences being. And so voters want to see somebody like a Don Huffines who ran before and didn't win. And he's not all rhetoric. He's obviously got a plan. He's obviously a business success. And they liked that he was a good trooper. He came back and he didn't just leave with this tail tucked between his legs. He stayed in, he went to the fundraisers, and he stayed in the Republican Party. I think that's really paid off for him, a lot of goodwill following him. The others don't quite have that goodwill.
Interesting. Yeah. You know, when you look at the situation that's happening in Dallas County and what's happening in Williamson County with voters from both parties, right, being turned away at the polls because of the confusion about the precinct-based voting. Do you think that's going to make a difference in those races?
No, I don't. I think if you're a real studious voter and you made a plan, you probably voted in the early voting. Now today, certainly, I think if you were there by 7 p.m., even if you're the last person at the end of a mile-long line, you would still be allowed to vote. You'd be tagged at 7 o'clock, and you'd be that last voter, and it may take 2 or 3 hours, but it'll get you through. So I don't see where that would make a big difference. I think that's a bunch of hype.
Really? You think it's hype? But we've heard from people in Williamson County who say they were turned away.
Well, you know, that happens. I think what happens is you get turned away. We used to have neighborhood voting. You used to vote at your precinct. Now, I think with countywide voting, we got used to the idea of having voting locations based on what's more circuitous, what's on the way to somewhere. But now we don't have those neighborhood voting places anymore. They're scattered out. One of my neighbors could vote at First Baptist Church in Leander. Another neighbor had to go basically to Liberty Hill on 29, and that was about almost an hour difference. So I do sympathize, but I think it's just a matter of getting back to the idea of each polling place has to represent a certain communal hub, and we just don't have that right now.
Okay, you say that, and when you say that, it seems as though, Andy, you are pro-precinct-based voting.
I am pro-precinct-based voting. It's a great idea, but we're not quite there yet. We had to do it quickly. We didn't have a lot of time to prepare for that, and we didn't have time to go back and find a whole bunch of new voting places. That would have been impossible. But this is phase one, and I think it's an ugly phase, but we're going to get better. We're going to find more precinct locations, and looking forward to see what Williamson County does. Now, it's not Travis County. We didn't do that.
Right.
But Williamson County, I think, has a tough road to hoe there, but it can be done, and we can go back to the old way. We just have to plan our polling locations for actual community hubs and not just, on the way to somewhere.
Why go back? You're saying just the idea, right? Go back there. Why go back?
Well, it's part of that element of voter integrity that's very important to Republicans right now. They want to see more accountability. They want to see things like serial numbers on ballots, and they want to see ballots on dollar bill grade paper, things like that. There's a lot of plans out there, lots of ideas, and one of them is to make sure that your votes are accountable to your local precinct, that they're easier to count, easier to secure in the event of an emergency, or if you catch any cheating going on, you can call the Texas Rangers and shut it down like we used to. So it's very important to the election integrity crowd.
And I understand that. I also, question, Republicans are in control and have been in control. So you would think that there's not necessarily an issue, right? If your party is winning and continues to win, should we be worried about the integrity? Should we be worried about widespread fraud?
I think that's a mistake we often make. And I was a reporter too, and you have to go look at the whole panoply of things. Who's really in charge? Well, it's a compromise. The Democrats represent, they're the largest caucus in the Texas House. Why? Because they're the second party. And the Republicans do not have 100% control. We probably never will. But if that's the case, then we have to look at the fact that Republicans aren't getting everything they want. If we did, it'd be a whole lot different. If we had a conservative majority, which I would argue we only had for maybe a year in Texas, I don't think we've actually had real fiscal and social conservatism calling the shots in the Speaker's office and across the whole legislature ever. I think we've been some mixture since then. So I don't see where the Republican Party can call the shots like, we're the kings or something. We're not. We have to work together with the Democrats. Moderates have to work together with conservatives, and that's just the political reality.
Yeah. How important is this election going to be for Republicans, and what's the plan moving forward to, for you guys, keep Texas red?
Yeah, I was with the good folks of the Texas Standard a while ago, and I said, well, the midterm is a good time to do some soul searching. The president is looked at like the king. The party does say, okay, are you for Trump or are you against Trump? What you said earlier about all the campaign ads, they're all about, MAGA Mays and
right.
I'm the MAGA candidate, I'm the Trump candidate, or I think I'm the Trump candidate, or I would like to be the Trump candidate. It's all about Trump. But this is a chance to really step back and say, okay, did we go too far? Did we not go far enough? Where do we succeed? Where do we fail? What do the voters expect? What are the Democrats doing? How are they getting independent voters to the polls in record numbers? This is stuff we haven't seen since 2008. So I think locally we're seeing a lot of that dynamic too. Republicans are reaching into independent sources of voters. What works with them, what doesn't. But it's necessary to our republic, our democratic form of government, to do this occasionally, search our souls, and yes, even question ourselves. Yes, political people can do that, believe it or not. So that's
it's good when that happens, right?
Absolutely.
Yeah,
and thank you for asking the right questions about that. This is the time to do that. The primary is the time to do that. And I hate to be crude, but they call convention the makeup sex part. It's the part where we sit down and we put our differences aside, we work together, we come up with a platform, we nominate our nominees, and we just go for it, right? But in the meantime, this is a chance to really look down and say, okay, what worked and what didn't. It's good for the system.
All right, and we'll be good to see how it all shakes out as we head towards November. Andy Hogue, Communications Director with the Travis County GOP. We thank you so much for taking some time out to talk with us.
Well, thank you. Good to be up at 8 p.m. and hopefully everybody can get to vote.
We certainly hope so. All right, let's